The carnival is my absolute favorite. I've been waiting for it to come all year. I can't ride anything this year due to being almost 8 months pregnant. It's still worth it though. My little guy just has to have funnel cake and french fries and a turkey leg. But it doesn't matter. It'll come back up before the evening's over anyway, right? 2 funnel cakes, 1 smoked turkey leg, and a popcorn-flavored icy later, I was finally full. My hopes of the air cooling with the setting sun were dashed. It seemed to be getting hotter the darker it got outside. My ankles are swelling more by the minute, and I desperately need to get out of this heat. Lights mean electricity, and electricity most likely means air conditioning. You don't have to tell me twice. To my horror, though, it's one of those Hall of Mirror type houses. Mirrors have always terrified me ever since childhood, but it feels so good in here. There's cold air blowing through the vents directly on me, and hey, maybe I can find a mirror that doesn't make me look fat. I see all kinds of images of myself, short, squat, zigzagged. Finding the tall and skinny mirror takes forever. It's well worth the effort, though. I look amazing. Well, a little like Mrs. Incredible, but still, not fat. The cold air on my skin overwhelms me after a bit, and now I really need to pee. The only problem is, I have no idea how to get out of here. I whip my head around to look for a path out, but the reflection in front of me doesn't. I see myself, only it's not me. It can't be. My reflection places her hands on the glass. I half expect them to keep pushing through and pop out on my end, but they don't. It opens its mouth to speak, and my voice comes out of her throat. Kara, you have no secrets here. Throughout your entire life, I've been right here, watching all. And I can live a life better than you can. I remove my shoe and hit the mirror with it as hard as I can, but nothing happens. My image turns its back and starts to walk away. Wait! Where are you going? I demand. She stops mid-step and turns to me. My reflection raises a finger to its lips in a shushing symbol, then gives me a wink, rubbing her pregnant belly as she steps outside into the night through an unknown door. Every time I try to follow her direction, I smash into a mirror. They're everywhere around me. I have nowhere to turn. I really don't think there's any way out. I can hear a new group coming. They enter boisterously and mock each other's reflections. No one hears me, no matter how loudly I scream or pound on the glass. And what's worse is that my water just broke. Tears stung my weary eyes as they threatened to spill over my face, but I couldn't give the residents of this hick town the satisfaction of my grief. It wasn't until the taste of copper filled the lining of my gums that I realized I'd been biting my lip to keep from screaming as they led my only child to char-kissed fields. As hard as it was to watch my daughter Freya kick, bite, and scream, I wouldn't let myself look away. Tear tracks glistened on her otherwise dirty face as she called out for me, her mother, the person whose job it was to keep her safe at all costs, to protect her. The men at her sides yanked her by the throat, shoulders, and hair as her body went limp in defiance at her oncoming fate. Several posts of death stood scattered around the field. My heart dropped as they stopped at the one closest to me. Freya's hands were forcefully wrenched behind the post and tied with thick strands of rope. She stiffened in silence once the final rope was fully secured around her neck. I couldn't tell if it was out of resignation or shock. Hateful jeers and callous laughter rang out as her bare feet began to slip on the pile of logs and straw beneath her. Villagers threw bits of rotted food and stones at her already battered body. Freya was still silent, and I was thankful to see that her eyes were now closed. I didn't think I could handle seeing the abject terror on her face in those last final moments. The crowd parted as a third band sauntered to where my daughter was standing in wait, like an unwilling lamb to be slaughtered. He looked her up and down before spitting on her bloodied feet. He kissed the torch to the logs beneath her, and before long, terrified shrieks pierced the night air as flames licked at the bottom of her toes. Emotion overtook me as tears flowed freely from my beloved child. I backed away, wringing my hands in sorrow. Summoning all the courage and strength that I could muster, I lifted my hands to my trembling mouth and began to whisper last rites. I repeated them incessantly, increasing in volume until they came out in thunderous torrents of commands. No one paid me any attention or even looked my way, my words still hidden in the underlying wind of Freya's screams. I waited until they were gathered close, eager to feast on the energy of an innocent girl's death, to say the last word. As it bellowed through the air, fire shot from the logs. Villagers and lawmen alike screamed in horror as flames traveled up their bodies, invading their airways and cooking their flesh. Freya sobbed gratefully as I dislodged her from what was destined to be the site of her murder. I carried her all the way home, safe and loved, where she belonged.